Hi, in this video we are going to quickly review methods of analyzing distributions of univariate data. One of the ways to describe numerical distributions is their centers. There are two ways of measuring the center of a distribution, mean and median. The median is the middle number of the distribution, with exactly half of the data behind and ahead of the median when they are arranged in numerical order. When there are an odd number of data in the distribution, the median is just the central number, as shown in this example. When there are an even number of data, the median is the average of the two central numbers in a distribution. The mean of a distribution is the average of all the numbers in a distribution. In order to find the mean, just add up all the numerical data and divide by the number of data points. Another way of analyzing data in a distribution is to find the positions within that distribution. Three methods of finding the position of a specific data point are quartiles, standard deviation, and percentiles. There are two quartiles, the third quartile and the first quartile. The first quartile is exactly positioned at 1/4 of the way into the distribution. The third quartile is 3/4 of the way in. Similarly to the median, when the quartiles are exactly described because they are an odd number of data in the corresponding half of the distribution, that number would be the first or third quartile respectively. However, with an even number of data, the average between the two central numbers in the respective halves of the distribution would be the quartiles. Z-scores are the standardized numbers that describes where a data point is in a distribution relative to the mean. A z-score is calculated by subtracting the mean of the distribution from the data point, then by dividing the standard deviation of the distribution. A normal distribution follows a unique pattern called the 68, 95, 99.7 rule, where 68% of the data is within one standard deviation of the mean, 95% are within two standard deviations, and 99.7% are within three standard deviations. Percentiles describe the proportion of data that are below a specific data point. For example, in this picture, 80% of the people are shorter than this person here, so this person would be at the 80th percentile. Spread is a way of describing how similar or varied a distribution is. You can describe spread with range, IQR, and standard deviation. Range is the difference between the maximum value of a distribution and the minimum value. The range in this data set would be 6 minus 3, which is 3. The IQR of a distribution is the third quartile of a distribution minus the first quartile. This measure is often more accurate than range because it's less prone to outliers and extreme values, which range is. The standard deviation of a data set describes how varied the data are from the mean of the distribution. The more variation from the mean, the greater the standard deviation. The formula for standard deviation is shown here. In a unique type of distribution called normal distribution, the standard deviations of a data set follow a pattern where certain proportions of data are positioned within 1, 2, and 3 standard deviations of data. We saw this previously with the 68, 95, and 99.7 rule. Interpreting z-scores and standard deviation is an important part of the AP exam. Z-scores are standardized values that describe how many standard deviations a data point is below or above the mean. For example, if a data point is 1.5 standard deviations below the mean of the distribution, it would have a z-score of negative 1.5. When comparing z-scores from two different distributions, the most important thing is to make sure that both distributions are normal. If they're not normal, you cannot compare z-scores to determine one data point position relative to another in the other distribution. If they are normal, then you can compare the positions of data points. You can also transform distributions by adding or subtracting constants to all the data points in the distribution. For example, in this distribution, 5 is added to every number in the distribution so that the new distribution is shifted to the right by 5. Another way of transforming distributions is by multiplying or dividing by a constant. In this distribution, we multiply every number by 2 so that this would be the new distribution. Transforming distributions can affect measures of center, spread, and position. When adding or subtracting a constant to the distribution, you also shift the center of a distribution up or down by the value of the constant, but the spread and position remain the same. However, when you multiply or divide a constant in a distribution, you also change the center by a factor of the constant and change the spread by the same constant. The position, however, still remains the same. On the AP exam, there are some important things you have to remember and some common mistakes to avoid. Remember to always make sure that the distribution is normal before using z-scores to find the percentile of a data point. And also remember to always indicate area and direction when using z-scores and percentiles. You can always draw a bell curve to get everything down correctly. Another common mistake is to assume that z-scores change when transforming a distribution. Z-scores will always be the same no matter what. Finally, we have a previously released AP practice problem that covers the stuff in this topic. If you want extra practice, even though you probably don't need it, feel free to do so in the first question on the 2016 AP exam. The links to the problem are in the comments.